There we go. All right, so to start this class today, the first thing we'll want to do is obviously log into our command account. Now, more than likely, you guys are probably already in the command account, but in case you need to access it, please go to agent.kw.com. All right, so agent.kw.com up here, and we're going to type inside our username and password. So I'm going to put inside my username and my password real quick. And we'll hop inside. And I apologize if my voice is all groggly. I am getting sick over here. So I'm taking a bunch of cold meds, to say the least. And hopefully it'll go away by the end of this weekend. So the joys of living in Florida during the winter. It's about 60 degrees outside, so I shouldn't complain. I'm going to, but I shouldn't complain. But last weekend it was about 80 degrees, so just the 20-degree change is really throwing me off my game. Alright, so that's enough ranting right now, though. But for you guys to actually access the backend on here for the opportunities, this is going to take us over to our command platform that we can actually utilize. So this is our dashboard right now. It looks like a bunch of new updates were going on recently, so if you guys are missing some items, like the big item is usually up here at the top right, where you can actually reorganize the home page. I don't know when that might be coming back on here, but I know that's been down since about, probably about Wednesday or so, I think is when it came down. Maybe Tuesday night or so. Alright, but it was on here for my Tuesday class. Alright, but in order to actually start the opportunities, the first thing you'll want to do before you actually begin the opportunity is a little bit of prep work. Alright, so two things. One, you want to make sure that you have your DocuSign or .loop account linked up over here inside your settings. Alright, so more than likely you might be utilizing DocuSign, that's the main one to use now, or of course if your office is extended with .loop or you've extended on your own, alright, completely up to you in this case if you actually want to utilize that too. Alright, so just to give you a heads up on there. Alright, so I'm going to click the settings option on here real quick. Now the DocuSign option should automatically display in your settings backend, so if that's not set up, you can set that up later. I just want to show you where it's located real quick. Once again, remember this is not the DocuSign 101 class, but I like to always, give a little extra on these classes. Alright, so in this case, we can see I've got DocuSign already connected on here, so that is fantastic. We're good to go. So that'll sync with my opportunities. So whenever I get to the opportunity and I get to that document section we're going to see pretty soon, I can actually link it up to access DocuSign for all of the e-transactions. Alright, now I'm also an overachiever, I guess, and I linked up my .loop account too, just so you can see how you can do that on there. Now the .loop one will not automatically display in this backend, because that's kind of an add-on option. Alright, so in this case, if you want to add inside .loop, just make sure you go to the marketplace on here, and you can actually add that in for free. Now I say for free because you can add it to your backend for free, but obviously you'd have to have a .loop account, and either your market center would be paying for it, or you'd be paying for it on your own. Alright, so I just want to give you a heads up on there. Alright, but this is the first thing that I usually suggest checking on. Alright, now obviously you're not obligated to, add inside DocuSign or .loop just to use the opportunities section, but if you're using opportunities for the commissions, if you're using it for, the documents or any type of e-transaction, alright, you may want to have that linked up on here so you can go through and submit everything. Alright, so if you haven't set that up, no worries, you can set it up later. We're not really going to touch too much base on that today, so I just want to give you a heads up as to where that's located. Alright, but the big thing that you have to do before you actually start an opportunity is click the contacts option on here. You have to have contacts inside in order to actually add this in. Alright, so I just want to give you a heads up. You have to have at least one contact added in. Alright, so we're going to click on that contact section real quick. And just a heads up for the contact section on here, if you have not added yourself as a contact, I would highly suggest doing that right now so you can actually play around with yourself as the consumer. Alright, so I always kind of tell agents, at the end of the day, you're going to see this back-end stuff. On here, your clients won't actually see that, though. Alright, so if you want to actually see what it's going to look like for a consumer, obviously they're not going to see anything on the opportunity side, that's just going to be for you at the end of the day, but you can still at least kind of test everything out. Alright, but having yourself added as a contact, though, will make life a lot easier regardless, so that way if you want to set up yourself so you can access the app, you want to set it up so you want to have access to your website like a consumer, set up safe searches, all that fun stuff, that'll help out. Alright, so adding yourself as a contact is definitely something I would highly suggest. Alright, so this is going to show our contact section, and if we click the Add Contact option up here at the top right, Sorry, I was squeaking for a second. All right, if we click the Add Contact option at the top right up here, we can actually add inside a contact. Now, the cool part about this command CRM is the only thing you need for a contact is a name, and that's it. I love that because it makes it so much easier for the opportunity side. Now, that is going to thoroughly decrease your database health score if you just leave it with a name only, but at the end of the day, that's all you need. All right, now you can add inside an email, you can add a phone number, you can add an address, all the fun stuff you typically would add in, but you're not required to. All right, so I'm going to click on Add Contact real quick, and as you can see, the only thing that has an asterisk on here is full name. All right, so I could come on here and I could add inside whatever name I want to. So I could add inside my name if I wanted to. And then I could add inside a relationship on here to link another contact. I could add inside my email address, phone number. I can come down here, I can mark it as a lead. All right, I can scroll down even further. I can add inside tags or add additional info. All right, completely up to you at the end of the day if you want to add inside extra information for this contact. But in order to start the opportunity, you have to have at least one contact in your back end to utilize. All right. And of course, at the very bottom, as you can see, we can click that Create option, and that'll create this immediately. Not the Create option, the Create. Let me make sure I sound that out properly. All right. I'm going to go ahead and click Cancel on here, though, just because I have myself in here a couple times. All right, but I'm going to use the contact I actually created yesterday, a Clark Kent, on here. All right, so I'm going to use Clark Kent real quick. And of course, whenever you create the contact, you can click on the contact name over here on the left-hand side to access their backend. And the reason I suggest that is because once we click on the contact in question that we want to add to our opportunity, whether it's our buyer, our seller, our renter, our tenant, whatever it might be, or owner. Is that the best way of thinking about it? Whoever owns the property? I don't know. All right. So in this case, if I'm using Clark Kent, all right, then we can actually see, here's all the contact information we have over here, and here's all of our info that we have on the right-hand side too, like our timeline of what's going on. But then we can also see the opportunities on here as well that Clark Kent is actually linked to. All right, so that's the cool part about here is you can actually create an opportunity as well, all right, to link them up immediately. All right, but then, of course, you can also see their smart plans, tasks, notes, and even save searches on here. So that's the main reason I suggest adding yourself as a client. All right, so that way you can actually go through, or as a contact, however you want to consider it, but that way you can go through and actually play around to see what you can do to kind of test it out, first and foremost, to kind of, play with the system and hopefully, break it to where you can actually see how everything pieces together. All right, and more importantly, what you can see on the consumer side. All right, so that way if any of your clients ever contact and say, hey, can you add inside, I'm looking for a property over inside this area now in this price range, well, then you can add inside a new save search. All right, or you can, do whatever you want to on here. All right, now if I want to create an opportunity, I can literally do this by clicking Create an Opportunity over here on the right-hand side. All right, or I can go over to the Opportunity option. That's going to be the handshake icon over here. All right, I can click on Opportunities. All right, and that'll give me an option to access this immediately. I don't know if we have any Great British Bake Off fans out there, but every time I see that handshake icon, I think of the Pat and Paul Hollywood handshake from that show. It's a great show. Rewatching it again. It's just so nice. All right, so I'm going to click on the Opportunities option on here, and this is going to take me to the back end of our opportunities. All right, so this is what our dashboard of the Opportunities section is going to display. All right, so first thing first, we're just viewing the actual opportunity on here. You can also view all opportunities. That's kind of similar to seeing like the all loops section, for instance, over on .loops. You can view everything. And then, of course, if you're on a team, you can actually see discussions that you're having with the team too. All right, and of course, if you are in a team, usually the team option will display up here. And then it'll also have a team name over here between like your name and then the team name and then all opportunities. All right, now when we're first looking at this though, you are able to go through and import different loops over to your opportunities. So if you want to mass import loops that you have from your prior .loop account that you've linked up, all right, you're definitely more than welcome to. So that way if you're continuing to utilize those loops, you want to add to the opportunity so you can submit the commission request, you can do that. Now over here, whenever you're importing it though, it's not going to import the documents inside the loop, but it will import the data. All right, so any data that you have inside that View Details section will populate over here when you create that new opportunity. Or you can always just click the Create Opportunity option as well. Now, before we do that, though, I do want to take a look at what we're seeing on our homepage. So you're going to notice we have our listings. Below that, we have our buyers. We have leases. And then below that, we happen to have all of our statistics. All right, so that way we can actually see our ratio over here of obviously our listings to buyers to leases. We have our activity breakdown. And then below that, we can actually see our closings for the month. This is going to give you basically a statistical data of your overview of what's going on. All right, so that's the best part about it. This is now a lead to close platform. So obviously you guys have heard about contract to close. Once you obviously have the buyer or the seller, under contract, that's when all the fun goes through. All right, but in this case, it's going to be your lead to close. So whenever you actually first receive that lead, all right, then they become a contact, then they become a client, then you have them under contract, then you have them sold. It's going to take you through that entire process. All right, you can stay up to date with everything on here too. And the best part is everything's fully customizable. So you're going to see a bunch of customization options in here. All right, so when taking a look at this though, you're going to notice, I'm pulling back up on the listing section. Each opportunity, whether it's the listings, buyers, or leases, are going to have 5 different phases, right? And these are the phases that we're actually taking a look at on here. Now, inside each phase, you're going to have stages, and the stages can be a plethora of different options. All right. So I always like to think of it kind of like they used to have those, they call them thinking maps. I don't know what they call them now, but basically just the graph at the top, kind of like an organizational chart. You had obviously, you got the CEO, and then it goes down, and then it branches out. Here are your general managers, here are the managers, so on and so forth. All right, that's basically what's going to happen on here. All right, you're going to have, obviously at the very top, your opportunity. Then below that, you're going to have your phases, and below that, you're going to have your stages. All right, so I always like to think of it in alphabetical order, because in this case, phase goes before stage. All right, so P goes before S. All right, so for the phases, you're always going to have cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. All right, that will remain active on here for you to utilize for all different phases, but inside each of those phases will be different stages that you can actually change and customize. Now, KW's created some phases that you can actually utilize, but if you want to change them out, if you want to tweak them, you can. And whenever you change it and customize it, the next time you create an opportunity, that'll pop up for you to use. All right, so with that being said, once we're actually seeing this, though, on our homepage, then we can get a little bit of a glimpse into what's inside each phase, inside those different stages. So ironically enough, I literally have one listing added into every phase on here. I don't think that's ever happened before. I need to clean that up is what it's showing. All right, but then we can also see, all right, inside each phase, what do we have set as the volume on there? So it's going to take a calculation of all the different opportunities inside that phase, add them together, and show you the volume. All right, then it's going to show you the average time for those opportunities inside here too. Now, with that being said on here, all right, the cool part about it is then it's going to take that volume and it's going to add it over here for your potential income. Now, you're going to have potential and probable income. All right, and I always like to say this is the optimistic income, and then this is the realist income, not pessimistic, because there's nothing pessimistic about it. All right, but it's definitely more the realist option on there, and that's the one that I would highly suggest taking a look at. All right, so for the potential income, that's saying, all right, if everything goes according to plan, based on the opportunities you've put inside here, and based on the price, and obviously what the commission rate's going to be, all right, this is how much you should actually come out with. All right, so when I add all 5 of these together, all right, taking the volume and taking whatever percentage I put inside there for the commission, that's going to be the total amount on here. All right, now that does not include, fees, all the additional items or anything like that. That's just the mass quantity amount. Now down here for the probable income, that's saying based on where you're at under each phase and each stage, you're going to have a percentage allotted to that particular stage that's going to say this is the percentage that this is actually going to close. And the higher it gets, all right, or the closer it gets to close, the higher that percentage becomes. All right, so in this case, the one that I'm going to do today is the one I always do. Just simple math on here, 3% commission on $300,000. So that's going to be $9,000 that we would actually make on the sale of this property. All right, not a bad check. All right, so in this case, for that $9,000, it would show the potential income on here of an additional $9,000. All right, then the probable income will change based on where it is. So when it first starts, it usually starts at a 5% chance it's going to obviously close. So this would show $450. All right, and then by the time it gets up to close, that's 100%. So then that would show $9,000. All right, so you can kind of see the differentiation on there. All right, so let's go ahead and create an opportunity real quick. So I'm going to click that Create Opportunity option. So let's click that blue button up here on the top right. Up here. All right, and this will allow us to create that opportunity immediately. Here we go. All right, now once we click on that Create Opportunity option on here, all right, we're then going to be able to see, all right, first thing first, here's our market center. Now, anything that has the red asterisk on here, we will need to fill out. So I just want to give you a heads up on that one. All right, so anything with the red asterisk, we will need to fill out on here. All right, now if you're in multiple market centers, you can actually click this drop down and select the market center you're a part of. All right, if not, it'll just automatically have the market center. If you're on a team, you can also specify if it needs to be under the team or just under yourself. All right, and then of course over here for the opportunity type, we can actually specify, all right, is it a listing, buyer, landlord, or tenant? Now make sure you add this in properly. All right, because if you add inside a buyer and it meant to be a listing, if you notice that later on after you've done a bunch of stuff, you'll need to actually redo that. All right, so just to give you a heads up, there's not a way to just kind of change it, unfortunately. All right, so much like creating, well, I guess I wouldn't do the same thing in a loop, but if you create a loop and it's obviously all the buyer documents on there, you'd have to redo it to add inside the listing ones. All right, so I'm going to leave it as listing. I'm going to say the owner is myself. It's perfect. Here we go. And then I'm going to look for my client. So I'm going to type inside Clark Kent. Click on his name. I could add inside a second seller on here too, or if it's a buyer, I could add inside a second buyer. All right, and then I can even change the opportunity name. Now, typically what I suggest in this case is the same thing I suggested over on .loop, and of course at the end of the day, it's up to you. All right, but I usually suggest going through, if you are selling the property, you're going to know the address. All right, so I'd highly suggest adding inside that address on here. And if you're doing a buyer side, all right, you won't know the address quite yet, so maybe utilize the name of the client, and once they have officially, put in the offer and that's been approved to purchase the property, all right, then change out the name to actually display, the property address, and that'll help out. All right, so I'm going to put this in as 123 Main Street. All right, then I'm going to put dash Clark Kent, just so I know it's under him. All right, you can also add inside custom tags on here. We can put inside an estimated close date. I'm going to put inside the estimated listing price of $300,000, and then the commission rate of 3%. Now the final two items are going to be that opportunity phase and stage. So the first phase on here is cultivate. That's the first option. And then right after that, it's going to be new lead. All right, so this is basically saying I just met up with Clark Kent. He said I have a property over here. I did a quick CMA, and I noticed that in that area, based on the beds, bath, square footage, all the different details, all right, about $300,000 is what he should receive for that property. All right, so I'm just going to add that in, and I have him as a new lead on here. All right, so then I can leave him as a lead, or of course I can always start him in a different section if he's already a client, for instance. All right, but I'm going to click that create option down here. Now, once again, this info can be changed at any time, so don't worry about it if you add something in and all of a sudden come back and say, oh, well, wait a minute, it's actually not $300,000. He left off that he has a pool. All right, so it's going to be X, all right, or whatever it might be. I don't know how someone would leave off owning a pool, but things happen. All right, so we'll click the create option. All right, and now this is officially created for me. Now in this case, this is the back end of the opportunity that we can actually utilize. Now when taking a look at this opportunity on here, we're going to notice a couple things. So first thing first, we have the name of the opportunity. We have the name of the client on here, so this is linked up with their contact. And then you can also select the listing from the KWLS 2.0. All right, now if you are doing a listing, in order to actually submit this commission option, you will need to have that listing synced up on here. All right, so make sure you add that in, as soon as you can. All right, whenever the listing is officially active on the MLS and moved over to the KWLS, all right, then feel free to search for it and add that in. All right, but now we can actually see all the details on here. All right, so the details section is actually going to display all the opportunity information for that contact. All right, so with that being said on here, we can click this pencil icon at the top right of any of these different sections to actually edit this even further whenever we'd like to. All right, so if I want to go through, if I want to change the opportunity name, if I want to change the phase, the stage, if I want to add inside a time frame, an estimated close date, when the appointment was scheduled, the appointment date, agreement one, contract date, close date, so on and so forth, I can add this in. All right, and this is going to help me out to make everything as seamless as possible on here. Now, all of these items are completely customizable by you. All you have to do is just click this little pencil icon, and voila, I can customize it. Now, obviously, if some of these items, like the market center, the team, the deal owner, the contact name, if those are grayed out, we can't do anything. All right, that's stuff that's just automatically added in that we synced up in the beginning. All right, but you can go through and add additional items, especially if it's missing any information. Now, outside of the details section, you also have a new seller profile. This is relatively new because the app just launched. All right, but we can actually see over here, all right, do we have an app association with Clark Kent? All right, so they're not registered on the consumer platform or the consumer app quite yet. Once they are, it'll pop up for us. All right, and then we can actually see their guide on here too. All right, so in order to utilize the guide section, we'll definitely want them to download that app and sign in. All right, and obviously if they're downloading our KW app, make sure they use the email address that we have assigned to them. All right, so in this case, I'd have to use notsuperman@aol.com. All right, now I can also click on the Documents option on here, and this is where I can sync up .loop or DocuSign. All right, so with that being said, under the Documents section, once I do that, everyone's documents are going to look a little bit different, all right, because it's all based on your market center. All right, so at the end of the day, when you're actually adding this in, all right, what you're seeing on my screen is probably going to be completely different than what's on your screen, and that's okay, all right, because each market center has their own, compliance, their own transactions. All right, so with that being said on here, I can actually see on the left-hand side what my market center has added in for the different folders I might need to utilize. I can actually see the different status on here as well, if I've uploaded anything, if I've actually, obviously right now, not uploaded it, if it's been approved and everything for, submitting to the MC. All right, and I can even add inside documents over here too by clicking the Add File option. Now, these are obviously set templates that our market center has added inside, but I can also click the Start a Transaction option to add inside either DocuSign contracts, .loop contracts. I can upload my own PDF. All right, so uploading the PDF will come from the Add a File option, but if I click on Start a Transaction or I click this little drop down, it'll give me the different options that are available based on my settings. All right, so what I added inside my settings section on here will pop up. All right, so I could say, yes, this is going to be linked up with DocuSign. It's going to be over inside their rooms. So I want to sync this up real quick. All right, hopefully that'll pop up. Oh, pop-up blocked. That's okay. All right, and also make sure that you have your pop-up blocker turned off. All right, or just allow for it. That's fine too. All right, because then I can actually go to transactions and it would take me over to DocuSign. All right, now I can do the same thing for .loop. Now, one thing to note though, if you click on DocuSign, you meant to click on .loop, there's not a way to revert that. All right, so you might want to create a new opportunity instead. All right, or vice versa. All right, because I've seen it happen a couple times where people said, hey, I moved my loops over, or I moved my loop details over and I imported it, but I need to actually utilize DocuSign to add inside, a new contract, and it's not letting me go to DocuSign. Well, that's because once we actually sync that, it's going to sync on here. All right, so I just want to give you a heads up. Now, then you can also view the offers on here too. That's where you can actually add inside an offer. Now, this is going to be something for you to actually view on here. So if you want to add inside the different offers, and then you can actually generate the offer URL to send over to your clients. All right, they can actually take a look at everything on there and see, what they think about that offer. All right, or obviously you can submit this over to the particular buyer, not buyer, but seller in this case if you are the buyer. All right. Now, in order to actually utilize the commissions, though, to get paid, your offer has to be accepted and approved on here. Now, if this is just a simple one, like say, for instance, you are actually selling the property like I am in this example, all right, then I can actually add inside the offer that's going to be, accepted and just accept it right away. And then we'll be all clear on here. All right, because once that's accepted, then we can actually utilize the commissions tab. And of course, you can also add inside notes on here. All right, any notes about the opportunity you want to utilize, and of course, check on the timeline too. All right, basically your history at the end of the day. All right. All right, now with that being said on here, that's just the back end details. I wanted to give you guys a second to kind of play around real quick. Now over here at the top left, we're going to basically have a back option. Now, I like this because there's a little slash between it. If you notice, it says Sales Pipeline, and then on here it says Listing Cultivate. All right, if I click on Sales Pipeline from the back-end section of our opportunity, that'll take me back to the opportunity homepage. Now, if I click on Listing Cultivate, that's going to take me to the Listing Cultivate phase, all right, inside this opportunity. All right, so it's kind of like two back buttons at the end of the day. You can either go all the way back, or you can just kind of go back and go back to where you were. All right, so in this case, I'm going to go to the sales pipeline, though, because I want to see what happened to our opportunity homepage when I added inside this opportunity. All right, so I just added that bad boy in, and as you can see, my cultivate section is now at 2. My volume is up to 600,000, and my average time went down to 0.5 days. All right, so previously, the last time that I created an opportunity was actually about 24 hours ago, so that's why it said 0.9. All right, and then in this case, I just added it in right now, so when you add inside current versus 1 day, you're going to get half a day. All right, and if we notice over here, my potential income went up substantially. All right, that added in the extra $9,000, but my probable income is still down here at $15,800. All right, now to actually view this even further, though, all right, I can click on this cultivate option real quick. So I'm going to click on the little plant icon. All right, and once I click on that, then I can actually view my opportunity immediately. So let me go ahead and archive this real quick so I can make it a little bit easier to notice. All right, so once we're actually viewing this this opportunity on here, all right, then this will help out tremendously to actually see where it is in, obviously, our entire sales pipeline. So currently we're under cultivate, and then here are the different stages that I have set up. Now these are custom ones that I actually went through and tweaked, so nothing too crazy by any means. All right, so I went through and I just said on here, all right, we're going to have new lead, called, contact, and spoke with them about selling, contacted and currently listing home soon, and then I think there's a fourth one on here that I'll need to actually, well, there we go, I can use my keyboard. Meeting with contact next week. All right, so nothing too fancy by any means. I just added inside some to show you how you can change it. All right, now when we're actually seeing this, we can drag this around our back end. All right, so I just want to give you a heads up. This can actually be dragged around for you to utilize even further. All right, now currently I'm viewing the board view, all right, but I can always click on this list view option over here, and I can view that immediately. I have yet to really see anyone utilize the list view. I mean, obviously, it's completely up to you at the end of the day if you want to. I see a bunch of people use the board view, and I kind of prefer this because it makes it a little bit easier to see. It's kind of like just moving it from, one section to the other, kind of staging everything out. It also just makes it really easy to kind of drag it around, too. All right, now I can always go through and then click on my opportunity, because here's my opportunity for 123 Main Street with Clark Kent. Here's the contact. It's going to show the time on here, the estimated close date if I add that in. All right, the commission amount. Here's the owner. And then, of course, any task that we have due. Now, you can actually update any task based on the opportunity stage. All right, and you can update that under the Edit Stages option. So before we actually move on, let's click on Edit Stages at the top right up here. All right, so I'm going to click on Edit Stages real quick to show you how to update that real quick. Quickly. I don't know why I used real quick with quick. My vocabulary is off the charts today on this Friday. Alright, so once I click on the Edit Stages option on here, alright, then this will actually show all those different stages that I currently have. So this is my Cultivate stage, or all the different, stages within the phase. Alright, so on here, I've actually gone through and I've tweaked some of these, and you can go through and edit them as well. Alright, so when looking at this, it's kind of hard to see, but on the right-hand side, we're going to have this little pencil icon, or we'll have the trash can. Alright, so the trash can is going to delete it. The pencil icon obviously is going to allow us to edit it. Alright, so if I click on that pencil icon, for instance, I can edit the stage name immediately, and I can even edit the probability percentage. Alright, so if you want to change this out, you definitely can. If you want to delete this, you can as well. If you want to move this around, you can drag it around to reorder them. Everything is customizable. All right, and then inside each stage, you can actually add inside a checklist, basically different tasks that you need to complete. All right, so in order to move from the new lead to the called contact and spoke with them about selling, I need to complete this one item in the checklist. So I need to say I added the contact to the database. All right, well, in this case, obviously they're going to be inside my database because I've gone through and I created the opportunity, so I really don't need that. But it's nice to have in there. And of course, I can always add inside another item as well. Now, once again, whenever we create another opportunity for a listing, this will auto-populate on here and remember everything. Alright, so I'm going to go back real quick. I'm going to click this Cultivate option. So remember, you have two back options. You have go all the way back to the Opportunity Sales Pipeline homepage, or go back to where you were. So I'm going to go back to where I was. Alright, so I'm going to click on Cultivate real quick. Alright, now when we pull this up, as we can see, once again, here's our item. And then, of course, we can always click on this little task list, checklist, however you want to consider it, alright, to see what we need to do. And, of course, you can always add inside new items on here, too. But since I already added this contact, I can check this off. I can even set a due date, alright, or over on here, I can delete it altogether. I'm going to check that off and say it's completed. Close it out. So now we have 101 completed on here. So now that I've done that, I can move it on to the next stage. Alright, so I can move it up to call contact and spoke with them about selling. So now if I want to move this over, alright, I could click inside here and edit, obviously, the stage each time, but that's going to take a good amount of time to edit and lots of clicking. Or I could just put my cursor over this, and if you notice, when I put it over, obviously the name of the opportunity, we have the little pointer icon, which is the standard mouse. So, we've got the mouse on here where it's the little kind of arrowhead pointed, what is that, northwest-ish? All right, or of course you have the actual pointer where it's just, that's so hard to do with your actual hand. It's weird. All right, but it makes it a little bit easier to see. And of course, if we scroll down, we can actually see where it looks like it's grabbing something. Now, once we see that, we can hold down our left mouse button and drag this around to put it wherever we want to. So if I want to move that over to called contact and spoke with them about selling, I can. As you can see, it's thinking, and now the opportunity has been updated. So it went through, it updated all the settings in the back end to say, all right, it's now inside Cultivate, but it's currently under the stage call contact and spoke with them about selling. Oh, and by the way, here's your probable income and your potential income. So that's updated as well over on the home page and back here too. And here are your new checklist. All right, so it's going to automatically know everything. So this is why having these opportunities set up is very crucial, because you're going to see every step of the process and where you are with each contact, each lead. If you're OCD on organization like I am, which, look at my office, you might not say that, you're going to love this. Right? So this is going to be fantastic. So if you're an organizational person like I like to be, or I like to say I am, all right, this is going to be right up your alley. All right, now in this case, if you want to actually move this from one phase to another phase, you can do that too. All right, I can grab onto this opportunity, and then I could drag it up to any of these different phases on here. So if I said, all right, I'm done with the Cultivate, now we actually are going to have an appointment with Clark Kent on here. All right, I can put that over the appointment section. Oop, sorry about that. I can put that over the appointment section and let it go to actually add it inside on here. Now, if I do that, if you notice, whenever I'm dragging this up here, so we have the little dashed lines around each of the different phases. All right, so when I drag this up, there we go. When I put it over appointment, right now it's still grayed out. So you have to kind of look for it when it actually turns blue. You can see it might not turn blue on here. Let me try this one more time. All right, that turned blue, it looked like. Let's try coming in from the right. All right, so you have to look for it to actually turn blue on here for it to display properly. There we go. All right, so it's kind of hard to see, but it's now blue in the background. I've always known, I don't think it has anything to do with that, but whenever I go left to right, I can always see the blue, but I think I just always do that. All right, so it's hard to see, but it's now outlined in blue for the little dash outline. The fill is now a light blue color, kind of an aqua-ish color. And if I let that go, it's going to move this over to the opportunity section. So the opportunity has been updated, and if I go to appointments, voila, here we go. All right, so that appointment is now on here. And since we're cleaning all this stuff up, let me archive that too. Perfect. All right, so with that being said on here, now I can see, all right, for my appointment, I have it scheduled. Heading to appointment. Add appointment with client. All right. Obviously, I put a lot of time and effort into thinking of what I'm doing for this appointment. All right, so you can always change this out to whatever you want to, because once again, all this is completely customizable. And as you move it along, it's going to change down here. So my probable income is increased, my potential has stayed the same. All right, and let's say this is actually ready to close. I'm going to move it over to closed now. Going to go through, let me see if I can archive this too. Awesome, thank you, Clark Kent. Don't think I can archive this one. Yeah, it's too far along. That's okay. All right, but now I have my close section. Here's Clark Kent. So he's now ready to close. So today is February 28th. That's how you know it's live. Right. And of course on here, Clark Kent is now ready to close. All right, so now we're good to go. So then I can actually click on Clark Kent on here. All right, and then if I wanted to, I could add inside the documents, obviously, and I can submit that off to the Market Center. I can add inside an offer on here, and once again, I can approve that to then send the commission option. All right, so completely up to you at the end of the day. All right, now this is going to help out tremendously if you actually go through that pipeline, because then if I start to add inside the documents on here, once again, I can click on Go to Transaction to access the transaction backend. I can click on the Add a File option to actually upload this, whether I want to upload it manually, from custom folders, or in this case from DocuSign, since that's what I specified was with the transaction platform I was going to utilize. All right, and once I actually upload this, then I can submit it to the MC. All right, so same way as utilizing .loop where you would submit it over to the Market Center for compliance, you're still going to do the same thing. They'll just check it in a new section, and you'll check it in a new section. All right, so KW did not reinvent the wheel. All right, they just made it all in one location for you, made it a little bit simpler. All right, so it should be that much easier to use now. All right, and the good part is a lot of things are very similar at the end of the day. All right, so it's a very easy transition over. Now, beyond that, then obviously you could add inside your offers as well. And of course, you can add inside the offer option up here. And once you click on Add New Offer, there are typically 4 steps it'll take you through. All right, so when I click on Add New Offer, for instance, it's going to ask, what do you want to title this? So I can leave it as Initial Offer on here. That's fine. All right, so I'm going to click on Create Offer. All right, as you can see, then we're going to have offer details, parties, terms, and agent analysis. Now, when you're actually going through this, not everything is required, but obviously the more that you add in, the better it is. All right, so I just want to give you a heads up on here. All right. So I'm going to leave this as initial offer. Here's the offer date. Here's the close date. Very quick turnaround. All right, I'm going to go to the party section now. All right, then I can actually see on here. All right, here's the actual seller. Here's the email address of that seller. Here's their phone, their fax, their address. Now here's who's buying it. All right, so I'm buying this from Clark Kent. I'd like to live in the Fortress of Solitude. Man, it took me a couple seconds to figure out where it is his base is, because I was like, no, the Batcave is Batman. I already know that. Fortress of Solitude. There you go. I had to think about that a lot longer than I should. I feel bad now. All right. But then I could add inside my email, phone number, fax, address, and then, of course, down here, representation. Here's my info as the person representing Clark Kent, and here is the buying agent's info. All right, so I could say over here, geez, who would be helping out myself? John Smith is. There you go. All right, so I'll click the terms option now. All right, so here are the current terms that we have. So how much are they going to pay in cash? So let's say it's going to be traditional. They're going to do 20% down, $240,000 for the finance. Here's the sales price. We're going to leave earnest blank, optional fee blank, termination option on here. Say 7. That's it. All right, and then our seller is greedy. They're not going to give anything on here. I don't know if seller, when I bought my home, they didn't give anything. Now I wonder if I should give something if I sell my home. I'll need a, that's what I have you guys for. I'll ask that question. Do I need to? Hopefully the answer is no, because I didn't get anything, but all right, we'll see. All right, so then seller will contribute blank to a residential service contract, or seller will contribute blank to settlement cost. All right, so I'm going to click this agent analysis option on here. All right, and then I can also put inside, hey, what are the pros? What are the cons? What's the summary on here? Why should you accept this offer? It's the only one you have. Cons. There are none. Well, no, I'll say this. It's not all cash. I was just about to put cash like this. There you go. I'll leave it like that. It's a tech joke. All right. And then, of course, I can put inside the summary on here, too. All right. But if I click the save option, that'll create that offer on here. All right. And once I create that offer, as you can see, here's the offer timeline, February 28th, 2020. Here's the buyer. Here's the seller. Oh, sorry, not seller. Here's the buyer. Here's the buying agent. All right, here's the offer they put in. Buyer is not pre-approved. Buyer is not pre-qualified. Now, I can also go through and accept this, or I can reject it, or I can come over here and add inside negotiations, edit the offer, add analysis, send the offer, or remove it. All right, so let's say this looks great. This is the one they want to go with, so I'm going to accept it. Fantastic. I can even change my response on here, too. But now, if you notice, the commission section is now active. All right, so when I click on commissions on here, all right, then it's going to give me a couple things I need to do to fill this all out. Now, as you can see, it's unable to submit, so a listing is required for this opportunity type because it's a listing, so I need to add it from the KWLS 2.0, and then the contract date is required too. So I'm going to say the contract date is today, 28th, perfect, and I'm going to search for this listing up here from the Select from Listings option. This is going to take me to the KWLS 2.0, and as long as that listing is active in the back end, this will pop up on here for me to use. Here we go. So I can actually start to search for my listings, all right, or if it's not my listing, I can search on all listings on here. All right, now in most cases, it'll probably be your listing if you are listing it. All right, but then if I search for all listings, I'm just going to go ahead and say this is the property on here as an example. All right, we're all good to go. All right, so now I've got the sale price, the commission, how much I'll actually make. On the right-hand side, it's going to show my summary. Here's the total commission, the royalty percentage, company currency, how much we'll actually receive back in our paycheck, how much is paid to the office. And then obviously once you cap, that's going to change. All right, over here, I can actually see the agent breakdown as well. All right, now if I need to add inside another agent to this, all right, so say for instance I am co-selling this, then I could actually come over here and change this unit to 0.5. All right, and once I do that, oh, it didn't update, that's okay. Let me go back down. There you go. All right, so I can change to 0.5 on here. As you can see, all agent unit values must total to 1. So then I could add inside another co-broker payment on here too. All right, but in this case, I'm going to say I did it on my own. There we go. All right, and once that looks good to go, as you can see, there's some additional deduction options on here. You can even add inside items as well. But then I can click Submit this over to the office. So this is basically the new green sheet, except it's a lot easier to do, and it just automatically does it for you, which is great. It's going to make your life a lot easier. All right, that's all you'd have to do in order to utilize that commission section in order to get paid. All right, so I would highly suggest taking a transaction course inside your market center. All right, usually there's some type of compliance course. All right, because each office is different. All right, you always see the kind of option on the websites that say each Keller Williams office is individually owned and operated. So I'm going to say that right now. All right, each Keller Williams office is individually owned and operated and may have different compliance structures. All right, so in this case, they might want you to do the commissions at a different time. They might want you to submit certain things at a certain time. All right, so I definitely suggest taking a class with your office, whether it's the MCA, whether it's someone that's teaching the course, whether it's the broker, whoever it might be, whatever the contracts course may be. All right, to kind of go over this right away. All right, but that'll give you a quick overview of how you can actually find the opportunities and utilize it. All right, so once again on here, let me go back to that details. Let's go back to the sales pipeline. Could have just clicked the Paul Hollywood handshake icon. Take me back over here, but I've removed a couple of these things on here. So if you notice, my potential income has changed, my probable income has changed because I moved everything around, archived a couple. All right, now with that being said, though, I can always go through once again and import my dot loop loops on here. Loops. All right, I can always click the create opportunity option, and then once again, I could actually create this as a buyer, landlord, or tenant. Now the premise will remain the same. All right, it's still going to be 5 phases and as many stages as you want under those phases. Now the actual details inside it, or the actual phases or stages, will change. All right, based on what you're actually utilizing the opportunity for. All right, so you're not going to have the same opportunity, stages under a buyer that you would under a seller. All right, so it's going to be a little bit different. All right, so if you go through and play around with that again, you'll see the minor changes on here. All right, because if I click on buyer, for instance, we can already see it. All right, so on here, for instance, instead of having the estimated sale price, it says budget. All right, so obviously what's the budget of what they're looking for? What's their time frame? All right, so we can see a bunch of things on here, and I can automatically see for the opportunity stage. All right, so I've got received lead for a new buyer, reached out to buyer via phone or email and phone call, added buyer to biweekly neighborhood smart plan. And I have hot. All right. You can actually move this around as well. So if I go to active, for instance, all right, they're searching, we're showing, we're negotiations. All right, so that'll all change for you to move it around. All right, but that's how you can actually start to utilize the opportunities section even further. So this is going to make your life a lot easier, and it's going to help out with the organization. So you're going to know where each contact, each lead is at any time, what you need to do, what's been done, how close they are to closing, and even more so, your potential and probable GCI, which at the end of the day, obviously, you're in real estate as a career. All right, careers are going to produce income. All right, so you definitely want to see that at the end of the day. So here you go. All right, so that is your quick overview of the Opportunities 101 class for the sales pipeline in the back end of KW Command as of February 28th.